Welcome to the 1031 Exchange Passive Income and Investment Series. This show is brought to you by 1031navigator.com. 1031 Navigator is the best way to plan, execute, and complete your 1031 exchange with peace of mind and confidence while saving you both time and money.
Hey, Thomas here with 1031navigator.com. Hope you're doing well. This episode is a little different from our Triple Net Secrets episodes. This is actually a voice memo recording. I have a client who's in a 1031, about $1 million, $1.1 million, and we've been looking a lot at Dollar Generals, and we finally made an offer on one. And rather than doing emails back and forth and trying to coordinate schedules, she's a pretty busy lady. We've been leaving each other long voicemails. And in this case, I actually did a voice memo to her and just emailed it to her. And it's actually a pretty useful way of communicating. And she was okay with me sharing the voice memo on the podcast. And you will note I've edited out any personal information or deal specific information. If you want more specifics, feel free to give me a call or text me at 970-618-4086. Again, 970-618-4086, or you can email me. And the email is on the website, 1031navigator.com. Thanks and enjoy.
Hi, Thomas here. Good morning. Thanks for your voicemail with your questions. And rather than leaving you a voicemail, I thought I would do a voice memo, and I'll send it via email. Basically, regarding your questions on the letter of intent, number one, you had a question about the 3 days to negotiate the purchase agreement. A couple things. Letters of intent are typically non-binding, so it's not like a purchase agreement where it's, you sign it and it's binding and people have to do what they say they're going to do. It's to generally outline the terms and conditions. I know those two clauses contradict each other. One, that the seller would give you the purchase agreement within 3 days, but then also we would have it agreed to within 3 days. I think we'll need to edit that first section there and say that the parties shall make good faith effort to negotiate the purchase agreement within 3 days from receiving the initial draft contract. So I think we should just hand mark up that first clause. I think it's in section 1 there. But basically, I go back to what I call deal momentum. If we sign the letter of intent today and they take 2 days to get us the draft purchase agreement, then we typically would have 2 days to respond and get comments back to the seller. So what I always try and do is match whatever momentum they're moving at. So if we sign the letter of intent today and they send us the draft tomorrow, then I would make an effort to get the comments back to them in 1 day. So that's answer to number one. And number two, you asked about buying the building as is. It's common and customary in almost every single commercial real estate transaction, and more so in net lease properties, because the tenant takes care of everything or takes care of most things depending on the lease. And all the owners and sellers and buyers are all typically absentee owners and don't use the property. So they can't really make representations regarding certain things about the property. They'll disclose to us, or they should disclose to us, anything they know about the property during the due diligence, and we'll verify that in the purchase agreement and make sure that they do have some basic representations and warranties. But typically there's a big as is clause in every single contract that says the property is being bought as is, and that's customary and standard. And then also related to that question was your question about hiring an inspector. This is an absolute net Dollar General lease. So Dollar General takes care of absolutely everything. You don't have any responsibility for anything. No roof, no structure, no parking lot, nothing. They take care of everything. So my honest opinion is I think you're wasting your money hiring an inspector, because Dollar General is responsible for everything for the next 14 years. So I'm not really sure what an inspector would tell you, except maybe, the Dollar General needs to fix something, but it's their responsibility under the lease anyways. I just did an inspection or my client did an inspection on essentially a modified gross office building retail project. And that inspection was very thorough, very comprehensive, but the landlord is responsible for a lot of items in that building, roof structure, carpets, a lot of different things. It's not a net lease. So it was definitely warranted in that case. But that inspection, I think, was like $2,800. Very thorough. It was like 80 pages long, but almost $3,000, which, you could hire some ma and pa inspector for a couple $100 to go out there, take a look, if that gave you peace of mind. So it's just really your call. But at the end of the day, even if your inspection found something, you wouldn't fix it. You typically would just send Dollar General a letter saying they need to fix it because they're responsible under the lease for everything. We'll ask about insurance claims. That was your other question. So we'll see in the contract and due diligence if there have been any insurance claims by Dollar General or by the seller. Typically, the building is only a year and a half old, so I don't think there's going to be any insurance claims, but we'll see. Your other question was cost on inspector. I already covered that. Number 3, estoppel. Estoppel is a customary document that the tenant provides prior to closing, and there's usually a form estoppel document attached to the lease that the tenant will sign and execute prior to closing. And what it does is the tenant warrants to you or represents to you that the lease is in full force and effect, and there's no defaults, there's no issues, et cetera, et cetera. It gives you, I'm not an attorney, but it gives you an added peace of mind that what the seller is saying is true, and then the tenant backs it up and says that the lease is in full force and effect and there's no issues. So we'll get that as a condition of closing, typically just a 1 to 2, maybe 3-page document, very simple, very standard and customary. I don't recommend that any buyer close a deal unless they have a fully completed, recent estoppel as part of a transaction. Number 4 was questions about closing costs. Yes, customary in the county the property is located in, and typically it doesn't vary too much from county to county, so it's usually based on state. So in this case, Ohio, and I'm looking at my little Chicago title closing cost chart that I use for all my transactions. And for Ohio, owner's title policy is usually split equally. So that shouldn't be more than a couple $1,000. And we'll try and split that in the purchase agreement. We'll just have to see, we'll get with the title company and make sure that the county, that's customary in this county. But that looks like it's split. And then loan policy, you're not getting a loan, so there's no loan policy cost on there. Title search and exam, seller typically pays in Ohio. Survey charges, we're going to get a recent survey from the seller. If you want it updated, that would be your cost, but we'll just see what the data is on the survey and how recent it is, and we can make that decision. Deed transfer tax in Ohio is, if any, is paid by the seller, so that's a non-issue for you. There's no mortgage tax. Closing fees are typically divided equally, so usually shouldn't be more than like $300 to $500 total, so split in half. And then the last thing is recording fees in Ohio. The buyer pays to record the deed and mortgage, which is just usually a little bit of a couple bucks here and there based on how many pages are on the deed. And then seller pays to record the documents to remove any liens they have, any loans they have. So that should answer your question about closing costs. And then your last question was related to property taxes. In triple net deals, the tenants pay everything, depending on the lease. So in this case, Dollar General pays the property taxes either directly or they pay them to you or the seller. The seller pays them directly to the county. So what the title company will do is they'll do a tax search and see if there's any taxes owed. And we'll make sure the taxes are paid prior to closing, regardless of who pays them. But typically they're not prorated because when the next tax bill is due, the the tenant will pay them or pay you. So there's no proration needed for property tax. So that's all your questions. Let me know if we're good to go and if you want to make any more changes to the letter of intent or if you're ready to take this deal down. Thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the 1031 Exchange Passive Income and Investment Series. To help create, grow, and protect your wealth with 1031 exchanges and triple net properties, visit 1031navigator.com or call 1-866-539-1777. Again, call 1-866-539-1777. Make sure to remember to ask Thomas about our 1031 VIP program. You can put thousands of dollars in your pocket on your next 1031. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review it where your podcasts are peddled. And if you have a friend considering a 1031, make sure to share this show with them. A referral is the best compliment we can receive. Thanks for listening, and see you again soon. And remember, this show is provided for your informational and educational purposes only. Be sure to check with your accountant, lawyer, and/or other tax professionals and advisors before relying on this information. Although the information contained herein is believed to be accurate and reliable, we do not guarantee its accuracy or completeness, and it is provided without warranty. Common sense is the best practice.